Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party, filling in today for Megyn Kelly. It's Friday, October 10th, 2025, and this is your AM update.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system.
New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted by a Virginia grand jury.
Jones is facing calls now to step down from the race. Some say he's not fit to serve as Attorney General.
The Virginia Attorney General race tightens following the release of disturbing text messages written by the Democrat candidate. And the Trump administration fights in court to defend the National Guard's deployment to Portland, Oregon. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM update.
Have you heard about biohacking? It's what top athletes, CEOs, and even doctors are using to take control of their health. Many people today are stuck in the cycle of fatigue, weight gain, and brain fog, but biohacking can change that, giving your body the exact tools it needs to heal, recover, and perform at its peak. That's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. Sure, they have your everyday prescriptions and essentials, but they also make it easy to get powerful biohacking treatments that you will not find at regular chain pharmacies. They've got NAD+ for energy and healthy aging, methylene blue for focus and brain support, a powerful antioxidant to reduce inflammation, and a whole lot more. Every order is reviewed by a licensed doctor, the prescription is included, and they ship it straight to your door. Don't wait for the system to take care of you. Take control of your health today. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Megyn, and use the code Megyn when you check out, Megyn10 ideally, to save 10% on your order. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/Megyn. Use the code Megyn10 to save 10% on your order today.
New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of bank fraud and false statements to a financial institution, the Justice Department announced last night. Lindsay Halligan, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, said in a statement, quote, "No one is above the law. The charges as alleged in this case represent intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public's trust. The facts and the law in this case are clear, and we will continue following them to ensure that justice is served." James releasing a video statement on social media.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost.
The indictment alleges James in 2020 signed documents that required her to occupy and use a 3-bedroom home in Norfolk, Virginia as her secondary residence. She was also prohibited from renting the property. These pledges allowed her to obtain favorable loan terms not available to rental properties. But according to the DOJ, James did in fact rent out the home to a family of 3. From the indictment, quote, "The scheme involved falsely representing the property as a secondary residence to obtain favorable mortgage terms while using it as an investment property with no intended or actual personal occupancy or use by her." The case brought by Halligan, who was sworn in after her predecessor Eric Siebert left his post, reportedly over calls to bring charges against James and former FBI Director James Comey. Democrats condemning the indictment, New York Governor Kathy Hochul posting to social media, quote, "What we're seeing today is nothing less than the weaponization of the Justice Department to punish those who hold the powerful accountable." Former political director for Mitch McConnell, Scott Jennings, on CNN saying Democrat arguments about selective prosecution will not fly.
If Democrats like Slotkin are going to come out today and whine about selective prosecutions over Tish James, her entire career is built on the selective prosecution of one man. Now, I also believe what Elliott said. There's a process here. Everybody gets their day in court. Obviously, a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges. We don't know what they are, but a grand jury looked at this and says, okay, there's something here. She gets to go to court just like Comey, just like anyone else. But to me, it's just not going to fly to boo-hoo over selective prosecutions on this particular person who promised in her campaigns, who went after him on things, as Jonah said, that had no business ever happening, if not but for the man's last name being Trump.
The case is reportedly assigned to Biden-appointed U.S. District Judge Jamar K. Walker. President Trump holding his 8th cabinet meeting of the year yesterday morning, the president kicking off the meeting with more details on the historic agreement between Israel and Hamas to release the remaining hostages in Gaza.
We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them. They're in places you don't want to be, but we are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, and that'll be a day of joy. I'm going to try and make a trip over. We're going to try and get over there. We're working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing.
Later today, the Nobel Prize Committee set to announce the winner of the prestigious Peace Prize, the Norwegian committee granting the award to the person or organization who has done, quote, the most or best work for fraternity between the nations and the abolition or reduction of standing armies. Several world leaders, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, nominating President Trump this year for the prize. Mr. Trump asked about the award yesterday afternoon.
How do you rate your chances of winning the Nobel Peace Prize tomorrow?
I don't know what they're going to do, really, but I know this, that nobody in history has solved 8 wars in a period of 9 months. And I've stopped 8 wars, so that's never happened before. But they'll have to do what they do. Whatever they do is fine. I know this. I didn't do it for that. I did it because I saved a lot of lives. And that's the thing that bothers me so much about the Russia-Ukraine. 7,000 people are dying a week, young soldiers. They're almost all soldiers of Ukraine and Russia. So in theory, it doesn't affect us, no, but it's a terrible thing. And we'll get that solved, too. But nobody has ever done 8 wars. Nobody's done 8 wars in 30 years, let alone 9 months.
Coming up, the race for Attorney General of Virginia in a dead heat after texts from the Democrat candidate resurface, and the Trump administration defending the National Guard's deployment to Portland in front of an appeals court as the surge in Memphis delivers impressive early results.
You know all those fad diets. Half of Americans do it. And if you do it enough, you could be at risk of diabetes, liver damage, heart attack, and stroke. Weight cycling is when you lose 10 or more pounds, but then you put the pounds back on, plus a couple more. That puts tremendous strain on your organs and can lead to serious health issues. Bottom line, most people need help to stop weight cycling. And this is why I want to tell you about non-prescription Lean, created by doctors. Lean is an oral supplement, not a GLP-1 injectable. It uses studied ingredients, which Lean says target weight loss in 3 powerful ways: maintaining healthy blood sugar, helping control appetite and cravings, burning fat by converting it to energy. And burning fat helps keep the weight off. If you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace and keep it off, consider adding Lean to your diet and exercise lifestyle. Get 20% off when you enter MK at takelean.com. That's code MK at takelean.com.
Virginia Democrat Attorney General candidate Jay Jones slipping in the polls after 2022 text messages recently made public show him fantasizing about shooting the former Republican state House Speaker and wishing death upon the Speaker's children, despite corporate media's near total silence. The text surfacing last Friday in a report by the National Review's Audrey Fahlberg, but the news has mostly been ignored by mainstream outlets. Newsbusters, a media watchdog, reporting that from Friday, October 3rd to the morning of Tuesday, October 7th, the story receiving just 63 seconds of coverage from ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS combined. In fact, NBC is the only network to have covered the story in that time frame, when it was brought up by a former Donald Trump staffer on Meet the Press. Since the text went public, Axios reporting Republican candidate Jason Miyares is launching a $1.5 million ad buy, blanketing the airwaves with Jones's text messages.
Democrats and Republicans are condemning old text messages that emerged from Democratic candidate Jay Jones.
Jay Jones, the Democratic nominee for Virginia Attorney General, is accused of sending a former legislative colleague text suggesting he would like to shoot the Speaker of the House of Delegates.
Quote, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head.
Quote, he wished Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views.
Jay Jones wished violence on the children of a colleague.
How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously? Isn't that type of rhetoric disqualifying for someone who's seeking statewide office here in Virginia?
I wish that I hadn't done it. I wish I hadn't said it.
It is disgusting and unbecoming of a public official.
Jones is facing calls now to step down from the race. Some say he's not fit to serve as Attorney General.
While Democrats have condemned the text messages, Jones is not facing mounting pressure from within his party to withdraw from the race. The Washington Post calling or emailing 100 Democrat candidates for the Virginia House of Delegates. Most did not respond or declined to speak to the Post. Only one Democrat candidate in Virginia said Jones should drop his campaign. Despite the near-news blackout, the story appears to be damaging Jones in the polls. 2 polls conducted just prior to the text going public showing Jones leading by 6 points in each. Now an internal poll by Hart Research, reportedly conducted for Jones shortly after the texts leaked, finding, quote, the Jones-Miyares race remains highly competitive with Jay still holding a slight 46 to 45% advantage. That polling memo made public by the Virginia Scope's Brandon Jarvis. However, the poll also finding Jones slightly trailing Miyares among independents at 41 to 42%. A poll conducted by the Republican Attorneys General Association showing Miyares taking the lead by about 2 points at 45.8 to 43.7%. More critically, the poll finding Jones's unfavorability numbers skyrocketing from 19% in September to 43.5% now. Election Day is November 4th. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on Thursday appears poised to side with the Trump administration over Oregon's lawsuit challenging the National Guard deployment to Portland. President Trump authorizing the mobilization of 200 National Guard troops in late September under federal control for at least 60 days to protect ICE agents and federal property from riotous protesters. Since June, protesters holding daily demonstrations outside the Portland ICE facility, at times getting violent, leading to more than a dozen arrests. In yesterday's cabinet meeting, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem describing a recent trip to Portland, checking in on ICE operations.
I asked the mayor that himself. He said that Portland was perfectly safe, a beautiful city, no problems. And I said, well, why did you clear the streets for me today then and build out a 4-block radius to make sure I could get in and out of here? And these people on the street screaming death to ICE. There's graffiti that says Molotovs melt ICE. We have the guillotines. We're going to use them.
The things that almost different. It's like anarchists.
It is. It really is.
You know, it's really different than a lot of the others. This is a sick situation, but those are anarchists. Those are people that want to overthrow government. They're really degenerates.
Oregon and Portland quickly filing a lawsuit seeking a temporary restraining order, or TRO, to block the deployment. A federal judge over the weekend issuing the TRO blocking Oregon National Guard troops from deploying to Portland. The Trump administration then moving to send troops from the California National Guard in response. The judge issuing a second order expanding the TRO to block any troops from deploying to Portland. Both sides arguing their case in front of the 3-judge panel yesterday morning. For the DOJ, Deputy Attorney General Eric MacArthur arguing Portland's unrest meets the legal threshold for federal mobilization, an active threat of rebellion, and the feds are unable to enforce the law without assistance from the National Guard. It's not yet clear when a decision is expected. Over in Memphis, Tennessee, the federal crime crackdown making significant progress in less than 2 weeks. In this case, Republican Governor of Tennessee Bill Lee welcoming more than a dozen agencies and the National Guard to clamp down on crime in one of America's most dangerous cities. Attorney General Pam Bondi delivering a progress report in yesterday's cabinet meeting.
Secretary Hegseth and I were recently in Memphis. We had 1,100 law enforcement officers in one room with us. The Memphis PD, they were the happiest to see us. We've been making arrests left and right. So far, we made 562 arrests and seized 144 illegal guns just in the short time we've been in Memphis. Last night alone, we made 91 arrests, 19 firearms off the streets, and one was a warrant for a homicide, and 4 sex offenders who had active warrants. One was a sex offender on a child. Everything we did in Memphis was worth it, in my opinion, for that one arrest. Think about that. We got a child rapist off the streets, but yet we've made 562 arrests and still going strong in Memphis.
DHS Secretary Noem encouraging other Democrat-run cities like Memphis to follow their lead.
While we fight litigation and work with Pam on that, we're going to send more of our resources and men and women out there to keep everybody safe. So no worries. What we see in D.C. and what we see in Memphis for benefits for people in the safety and security, we'll see that in Chicago and Portland.
The numbers in Memphis, it's only a week, but the numbers have been amazing, I understand.
That's exactly right.
The crime numbers are way down.
Fantastic, and it shows what a partnership can be between local law enforcement and the federal government. And if we have to do it the hard way in Portland and Chicago, we will. But the people demand the safety.
That'll do it for your AM update. I'm Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party. Megyn is back on Monday. Catch the Megyn Kelly Show today, live on SiriusXM, Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and all podcast platforms.